Let's talk about your soul's library. Let's talk about the Akashic records. What are they? How do you access them? And what do they tell us about you? Or what do they tell you about you? Because this whole lifetime here on planet Earth is literally about learning about you, not reacting to other people, not being a victim, not giving them your power, right? It's about learning, what power do I have? How can I manage this situation? And learning about your Akashic records can help you do that. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic medium. And today is part of the series I do called Wisdom on Wednesdays, where every Wednesday I drop some wisdom on you. I am channeling 60% spirit guides, 40% Susan. Just hang on for a minute. Let me tell you about the Akashic records. We all have them. We all have a book. And this is a very human word, right? Maybe in reality, this is a hologram with information, but I'm going to talk to you using human words because that's where we are at this moment. But there's a book of your lives, every single soul life you had. Now, guess what? Those soul lives don't have to be here in or on earth or in the country you're living in now. These soul lives could be in different countries, different bodies, different races, different cultures, and yes, different planets, different existences. This is your history, your soul's history from the very beginning of your soul coming to life in whatever way that is. Now, can you as a human right now on planet Earth tap into your Akashic records and find out that yes, you lived a different experience, you lived on a different planet? Yes, you can. I have done it. I have looked at my souls, my different existences. Now, let's throw another wrench in this, shall we? Let's make it a little bit more complicated, and let's tell you that there are multiple existences happening at one time. For our human, again, for our human understanding, we're going to talk about lives and we're going to talk about your soul's existences in a linear fashion. But it's not linear. Right now, there are versions of you walking the planet Earth, little fragments of your soul. What if a tiny little fragment of your soul was enough to power your entire life? And what if there were multiple 10 fragments, 100 fragments, 5 fragments installed or planted in other people? Yes, there are. But what's interesting is that this book of life, your book of life, is your book of life. So we are, even though a fragment of my soul is existing in someone else, maybe operating in a body at the same time as I am breathing air, I can't really go into their book of life. I have to stay in my book of life. So that brings us back into the linear idea of time. Because when I'm looking at my book of life, my soul, this fragment that's installed in my soul, which is a whole soul, it's not like I'm only a piece. We have to understand that life is so much bigger. Everything is so much bigger than we can even imagine it. But my soul, the piece that's in me, the piece that I'm claiming, that I'm using, that I have used, there's a book, there's a recording, there's documentation, there's a user manual, whatever you want to call it. But there is one for you. How can that help you, right? Like, well, okay, Susan, let's just go down this very sketchy, dark rabbit hole, and I'll go with you for a little bit and we'll see where we get. Well, here's what it can do. It can talk about your past lives, but it can also talk about your soul's blueprint, your soul's instruction manual. And that's what's important. That's where you get your power. That's where you become the person you're trying to be when you created this soul fragment, or when the creator created this soul fragment. However you think it got there, doesn't matter. It is, your soul is a living energy. It is a light. It cannot be extinguished. That's why when you cross from this life, well, you're going to go on to a different type of existence. Maybe you decide to come back as a human. Maybe you decide to do something wholly different, and that is perfectly fine. But for you to tap into your Akashic records has never been easier. And I think that's really an important point because not so long ago, mediums, and this would be people that can speak to those that are no longer here on this plane of existence, which I am one of those people, but not too long ago, we had to surround ourselves with people that would chant and sing, and the medium would be in the middle of that group. Now, why was that happening? Because the medium didn't have the ability at that time to raise their vibration high enough to meet those souls that were no longer earthbound. They needed those groups to sing and chant and basically bring the vibration up. You know, you think about any type of indigenous group, they would have their literal rituals, right? Whether it was medicine men or any type of ritual that they would have, they would sing and chant and beat drums. They're doing the same thing. They're bringing the vibration up out of the human realm. Think about a trampoline. The medium, the medicine person is on the trampoline, and those people are helping boost that medium higher and higher, or that medicine person higher and higher, so that they can connect with the divine, with those that are no longer connected to the earth plane. Now, guess what? Fast forward, we don't need that anymore. We have evolved. Humans have evolved. And at the same time, the veil between the worlds has thinned. These two things have made it much easier for us to connect to other existences. And every generation that comes forth will find it easier and easier to connect. Now, what does that have to do with the Akashic Records? Well, everything, because the Akashic Records was almost off limits to humans. And so humans decided that, I want to know what's in these Akashic records and how can I do that? And so there became these rituals where you would say these prayers, where you would learn how to access the Akashic records. You would actually have to ask permission to access the Akashic records. You would actually learn and steep yourself in these rituals. And then you would prepare yourself, and then you would say your prayer, and then you would go before the gatekeeper and ask that you be allowed to go into these libraries, these sacred spaces. Now, you can still do that, and people are still training people to do that. And I'm not here to tell you how to do it, but I am telling you from my own personal experience, this is much easier now. Now, with ease comes more responsibility. If there isn't a non-human gatekeeper to make sure that your intentions are clear, that your vibration is high, if you can just walk right in and have access, then that's also more responsibility for us to use that information for the highest good, to be very ethical in using this information. Now, so what is there, right? What is there is the records of your life. Susan had these lives. Susan did these things, and Susan wants to do these things. Her soul really wants to explore these emotions, these feelings, these situations, these very human. I'm here today as a human. I chose this because I wanted the human limitations. I wanted the human free will. I wanted to experience the unique life as a human. So that is also in my Akashic records. What does Susan want to experience? And a lot of that is based on what I did experience. Because every time you experience life, the Akashic records get changed. It's not written in stone. We are writing the Akashic records as we live our lives. Now, on top of that, there is the energy of our soul. What do we want to do in this life? So when we were planning this life, when we were in our life between lives, we were in a planning session. Okay, I really want to really explore my feelings around jealousy. I seem to have really picked up this jealousy vibration over a few lifetimes. I really want to work through it and let it go. Well, guess what's going to happen, you guys? You're going to come to a life where you are either very jealous, you're jealous of everybody, and they mirror back to you your jealousy, and you get an opportunity to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be jealous. I don't want to experience this anymore. Or you get an opportunity to double down on it and say, why do these people betray me? And because I know they're going to betray me, I'm going to be extra jealous. I'm going to be extra watchful of everybody. Do you understand how this is 3D chess and not just simple 1D chess? This is all very complicated and complex. But if you're willing to spend the time, if you're willing to put in the effort to learn about yourself, to look into your Akashic records, to look into what makes you tick, then you can move through these things very quickly. You don't have to spend your whole lifetime struggling with something. If you're open to the idea of whatever the Akashic Records has to serve up to you, and you can sit with that and not be defensive. I'm not jealous. What are you telling me? I'm not a jealous person. I'm far from jealous. But perhaps you really are, and it's being suppressed, but it's still operating in your life from a place of the dark, of unknown. So that's why I say be open, be curious about your life. Just try it out. Try out the idea of Akashic Records. Try out the idea that you can access your own Akashic Records. Now, what we have to do is we have to get around our ego thinking brain. Anytime you want to connect to your spirit guides, you want to connect to your higher self, you want to connect to, loved ones that are in spirit, or your Akashic Records. The very first thing you need to do is understand that your brain is here to keep you alive. End of story. Literally here to keep a roof over your head, food in your refrigerator, to keep you from touching a hot stove, to keep you from walking into traffic. Whatever the situation is, it's typically a survival instrument. I need to survive. I need to thrive. This is what I know. This is what I learned. But those things are not helpful when we're talking to our spirit guides, when we're talking to our subconscious, when we're talking to anything that would not be human or on the human plane. That's why we need to skirt or sidestep our brain, and we need to be able to connect to those Akashic records through our subconscious. And that's where, even though it's much easier and we don't need all these things to help us, they're still helpful. So meditation is still helpful. Raising your vibration is still helpful. So all the things that those rituals used before are still very much helpful. The difference is that we're able to get there on our own. We don't need an entire group of people chanting or an entire group of people dancing and playing drums or an entire group of singing. We don't need that anymore. We just need us. But we do need some additional things like that. We could possibly benefit from listening to something that would help us get into a meditative state or a trance-like state. That could be binaural beats, that could be white noise, that could be chanting, that could be singing, it could be drumming that you listen to using headphones, and that puts you in a meditative state. At the same time, you could use visuals. So when these people did their rituals, they often had a fire burning or candles lit. This is also very important. So you might pull up on your computer screen a burning candle and use your headphones with whatever audio works for you and stare at that burning candle on your computer screen. Or if you want to have a battery operated one, or if you want to burn a candle, those things are all up to you. But what this does is this brings the visual component and the audio component to help your subconscious have more control. Your brain will go into a sleep state. But instead of being asleep, you're still awake enough to communicate using your subconscious. So using these things, you can then have the intention of going into my Akashic records. You can have the intention of, for my highest good, let me know this about my Akashic records. Now, this is a muscle that you're going to be working out. This may not happen the very first time, or it may. But either way, it is definitely something that gets better and better and better the more you use it. And I will just tell you that if you walk into your Akashic records, if you get into this space where you feel like you're comfortable, you're safe, and you can step into your Akashic records, I would suggest keeping an open mind. Now, some of us want, because this is our mental framework or how we interact with information, some of us would want to have some experience. I want to see a library, or I want to see a gatekeeper, or I want to see this hologram of information that's going to tell me everything that I need to know about Susan. That's not going to happen, because you would totally be overwhelmed. Number one. Number two, it takes the fun out of this life, right? People ask me, Susan, you get readings? Why do you get readings? Why do you need to go into your Akashic records? Because I don't know everything, and because I'm not supposed to know everything. As psychic as I am, and I'm pretty darn psychic, I can't know everything about myself, because I'm supposed to be learning in this life. What's the point of going into the first grade through the 12th grade? What's the point of going to college if they just download all the answers? You didn't learn anything. You didn't experience anything. And really, when it comes to learning, the most important thing is how you got there. It's always the journey versus the destination. The destination is not nearly as much fun without the journey. So when you get this information, it might simply be a color. It might be that you see a bird or an animal. It might be that you see a person's face that you don't even recognize. Or perhaps you get an idea, and your idea is to be more bold or to take more risk. But when you see that, you also experience fear. Now, that would be because, remember, we are balancing just enough consciousness to be able to understand the message while being in the subconscious. So your consciousness is going to experience the human. It's going to say, no, I don't want to experience that, right? I don't want to take those risks. You might even see a visual of something that kind of scares you a little bit or makes no sense. That's why it's really important to do this work and to be very gentle with yourself and write it down, because what happened was they didn't give you all the puzzle pieces. They gave you one puzzle piece. One puzzle piece doesn't make a puzzle. It doesn't make sense. What am I going to do with this, Susan? I don't even know what this is. What you're going to do is you're going to honor it as a puzzle piece, because your life is a puzzle. So every time you get a puzzle piece, you put it down and you look at it. And pretty soon you've got 10 puzzle pieces and they don't fit. And you're like, this doesn't even fit. This doesn't even make any sense. But if you take them on their own, they can make sense. So instead of trying to put the whole puzzle piece for your whole life by using the Akashic records, or even using astrology or using numerology or getting readings, take each piece and play with it. Be curious with it. I wonder what this piece is trying to tell me. I wonder what that dream was trying to tell me. I wonder what that person who said that thing that I cannot stop thinking about is trying to tell me. And I'll tell you something, 9 times out of 10, it's not what you think. It's not what you think. That's why I want you to be curious. That's why I want you to look at things 360 degrees. Walk all the way around. Turn that thing around and around and around. Look at all the angles, because that is how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to unlock that special message in there. And, recently, and I do have a membership, and recently I was doing readings for my members. And I remember saying to this member that, our soul's path, or a big part, a big chunk, a big puzzle piece, is often placed in a place you don't want to go. Or I think at the time I actually said they put it in dog doo doo, right? Because again, they're not just going to lay these Easter eggs out there in the open for you. That's not the point. The point is to do the work. The point is to look in those areas of you that you wouldn't normally look. That, my friends, is the shadow side of us. And the Akashic records can help you find where to look. Oh, I see. I'm getting this impression. That would be intuition. I'm getting this impression that I've been too trusting. I'm getting this impression that I've been too bossy. I'm getting this impression that I need to pull my power back, that I've been giving too much of it away. Those are things you can unlock through the Akashic records, because the Akashic records is just like all of our tools. Maybe the Akashic records is the same thing as astrology, as numerology, as getting a psychic reading, because it's all data. The records have been downloaded into all of these different modalities. So we don't need to go just to the Akashic records. The Akashic records are everywhere. The Akashic records could appear in that tree that you don't know why, but you have this love for, and you just feel a kinship for, and you sit and wonder about its life. You wonder what happened 100 years ago, what happened 50 years ago. What is that tree trying to teach you? The Akashic records are alive, and they're plugged into everything, not just an old, stale library that you must get permission from a gatekeeper to enter, that then you search for your name and the thing you're looking for. It's alive, and it's plugged into every part of your life. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you understand how all of these modalities are changing, that we have access to them in a way that we never had before. And that's empowering. That's inspiring. This is a new time for humans. We have the power. We have the ability to divinely guide our own lives. Thank you so much for watching this video. Every Wednesday, I'm dropping a video channeled just for you from my spirit guides. Please let me know your experience with Akashic records. Please let me know your thoughts about the Akashic records. We like to say, when we all share, we all learn, which is so true, right? Don't forget, I do have an online community. It is vibrant, it is fun, it is supportive, it is full of people just like you. Talk about your community. This is your community. That's $12 a month. You can cancel anytime. I am there something like 6 to 10 hours per month. That's a lot. I do readings there. I host my Soul Growth Sunday there. I also bring in outside professionals to teach you every single month something new, all for $12 a month, right? So you get these classes, you get these readings, you get Soul Growth Sunday, plus you get a community with thousands of people that are checking on each other, sharing information, doing readings for each other, whatever works for you. It's your community, right? All for $12 a month. I hope you consider checking it out. You can find more at my website, SusanLynnMedium.com. I also want to just tell you about my class upcoming this Saturday, September 27th, about being the Phoenix, about transformation. my good friend and I, FFA Tahimba, are teaching you a class on transforming yourself. Let's step out of this old paradigm because, frankly, I do believe we're getting thrown out of it. I don't think we can stay in it anymore. It's crumbling. So instead of maybe feeling the fear and feeling the uncertainty and feeling what am I going to do and how am I going to do it, and I can't operate in this world without these institutions, without these things that I've come to rely on. Our class can teach you how to transcend that, how to get your power back, how to get your mojo back, how to become the person who can traverse this new uncertain timeline. Again, you can learn more about that, SusanLynnMedium.com. It is Saturday. It's a couple of hours long. You're going to get the recording. So if you can't make it, purchase the class. You'll get the recording. I believe it's $33. Again, I hope you're seeing a theme here. $12 a month, very reasonable. $33 for a class taught by FFA and I. We've taught tens of thousands of people. We try to make it accessible. We try to make it affordable. The last thing I want to tell you is if you're looking for your people and you want to meet your people, maybe you want to meet me. Maybe you want to hang out with me. Well, guess what? There's still an opportunity to do so. I'm having my third annual Connect to Empower event in Santa Fe, New Mexico, one of my favorite places, a very mystical, magical city, Santa Fe, New Mexico. It is November 13 through 15. Right now, I have a handful of tickets left. We have me, but also 5 other gifted healers, psychics, astrologers, all teaching you for 3 days, lifting you up, inspiring you, teaching you, changing your life one day at a time for 3 whole days. If you're interested in that, as I said, I have a few tickets left for that. You can learn more at SusanLynnMedium.com. Take really, really good care of yourself, okay? I do have this channel, Susan Lynn Spiritual Way Shower, but I also have another channel, Susan Lynn Spirit Navigator, where there's even more mystical videos on that channel, but I also do other things like predict politics. So you got some options here, right? These are all free. This video is free. All the videos on this playlist are free. Please click on them. Learn about yourself. Empower yourself. This is the time Spirit is asking us to step into our own power. That is what's being asked of us right now. I hope you'll consider doing so. Take really good care of yourself. Sending you much love, much, much love. Take care.